Chapter 4, Rules of the Road. So in this chapter, we're going to be looking over understanding intersections, using lanes correctly, and parking tips and rules. So in chapter 3, we learned about signs, signals, and road markings. It also gave us some information about the most common signs, signals, and road markings we will see when driving. This chapter that we're reading now will give you the information you need to drive safely at intersections and how to use lanes correctly and park legally. So understanding intersections. Intersections are places where a number of road users cross paths. There is often a lot of activity at intersections, so it is important to be alert. Remember that other road users may be in a hurry and may want to move into the same space that you are planning on moving into. Signaling. Signals are important. They let other traffic know what you are intending to do. Signal when you are preparing to, and I want to emphasize preparing to, because if you're trying to merge lanes or turn, if you don't have your signal on, nobody else knows what you're going to do, and so nobody will make space for you. Whereas if you use your signal, other road users are more likely to leave a gap for you to go into. So you want to signal when you're preparing to turn left or right, to change lanes, to park, to move toward or away from the side of the road. For example, if you were going to check your cell phone or do something like that, or road maintenance, car maintenance. So there's a couple types of intersections. There's controlled intersections or uncontrolled intersections. A controlled intersection is one that has signs or traffic lights telling you what to do. To drive safely in these intersections, you need to know what the signals and signs mean and also the right-of-way rules, but always be cautious. Other drivers may not be paying attention to the signs and signals. Uncontrolled intersections have no signs or traffic lights. They are usually found in areas where there isn't much traffic, but they can be dangerous places because drivers may not be expecting cross traffic or pedestrians. As you approach, slow down and look for other road users. Scan the intersection from left to right, and if another vehicle has arrived at the intersection before you, slow down and yield. If two vehicles arrive at the same time, the vehicle on the left must yield to the vehicle on the right. So it's important to know that the vehicle on the right always has right of way at intersections anyways. Be careful when you want to turn left where other traffic is approaching from the opposite direction. Yield to traffic that is in or near the intersection. If you intend to go straight through and a vehicle is already in the intersection turning left, you must yield. You just have to be careful to yield to the right people. I'm just going to quickly touch on the driving tips. Treat an unmarked T intersection the same way as any other uncontrolled intersection. And if a traffic control person is directing the traffic, you must follow that person's directions. So here's some more intersection things that will just help us better understand it. So stopping at intersections. There are rules about where you position your vehicle when you have to stop at an intersection. So there's different stop lines at different intersections, and you just want to make sure that you're at the right place. So if there's a stop line, just stop before the stop line. If there's a crosswalk but no stop line, just stop before the crosswalk because people are going to walk in the crosswalk. If there's an unmarked crosswalk, stop where you would if there was a marked crosswalk. So just use your common sense. Usually it's before the stop sign if you're trying to imagine a line. Whereas if you see this person, if there's no stop line, no crosswalk, and no sidewalk, just stop before you enter the intersection. Again, with being a new driver, you don't necessarily know where the front of your car is. So it's always safer to stop further back and then inch forward than it is to stop so close to the intersection. So right of way at intersections. Right of way determines who must yield when more than one road user wants to move into the same space. It is important to know these rules because they keep traffic moving in an orderly way. But remember, you can't always count on the other person to follow the rules. Even if you have right of way, it is still your responsibility to do all you can to avoid an accident. So again, you may follow the rules, other people may not. You're responsible for your own actions, but you also have to be aware of other people's actions. Follow the rules as best as you can and be aware of other drivers. So for intersections controlled by traffic lights, Most people know who has right of way at intersections controlled by traffic lights, but they may not understand how to correctly respond to these lights. Here are some pointers that will help you stay safe at intersections. A steady red light is a red light that means that you must come to a complete stop. You must wait for the light to turn green before you can go straight ahead. After you have stopped and made sure the intersection is clear of all vehicles, cyclists, pedestrians, you may turn right or turn left onto a one-way street. Watch for signs prohibiting you from making these turns on a red light. Here in BC, you can almost always turn right on a red light, but there are a couple exceptions, and you just want to be aware of the road signs in that case. A steady green light. So a steady green light means go only if the intersection is clear and safe to do so. A stale green light is a green light that has been green for a long time and is about to turn yellow. If you don't see a light turn green, then it's considered stale. So you can also look for additional clues. Is there a lot of cars lined up on the other street waiting for the light to change? And in many areas, the crosswalk signal will change from the white figure to an orange hand before the light turns yellow, or it will show how many seconds are left behind before the traffic light will change. So this is a super useful tip, actually. When you're driving and you don't see the green light turn green, you're going to want to make sure that it's going to stay green until you get through the intersection. So yeah, the different ways you can do that is just to see how many people are waiting at the light to turn and the crosswalk. And like I said, a lot of the times it will show a countdown, so you know if you will have time to get through safely. Otherwise, you want to begin to slow down. However, there is a point of no return. As you approach a stale green light, take into consideration your speed, the road conditions, and the traffic behind you, and decide on a point where you will no longer be able to stop safely. This is sometimes called the point of no return. When you reach this point, keep on going even if the light changes yellow. You will need to judge this accurately so you will not be in the intersection when the light turns red. Again, like I had mentioned before, my vehicle is a little bit on the older and crappier side, so for myself, my point of no return is definitely further back than my boyfriend's one with a new car, and that's something you have to determine for yourself with your vehicle that you are using. So I'm just going to touch on the driving tips here. Sometimes traffic lights will stop working properly and the lights can go out, or all four lights can start flashing. Treat the intersection like a four-way stop if this happens. Power outages happens all the time here in BC. If you don't see the light turn green, then it may be stale and you should prepare to stop. And then also, it is illegal to back up into an intersection or over a crosswalk. That being said, if you are way into the intersection and there is people crossing or people turning, you are going to want to reverse if you didn't go through when the light was yellow. Because I do that sometimes if I've pulled out too far. It's just more of a courtesy. I did not realize it was illegal. So again, be cautious with that, especially during your road test. You will not be able to back up. If you're waiting to turn left, you have to go when the light is yellow or when there's no traffic coming, or you will fail your driver's test for that, because I know of someone that did. Alrighty. So a fresh green light is a green light that's just turned green. Don't move forward until you've scanned the intersection to make sure it's clear. And this is important because people blow red lights, especially if they're in a hurry. So if it just turned green, you want to make sure that no one's coming still and you have a safe way to go ahead. Making a left turn on a steady green. When you are making a left turn, you must yield to oncoming traffic and wait for a safe gap before you turn. So if you don't have the arrow, you have to wait for a gap. And if you're not sure about the gap, you want to wait because it's always better to be safe than sorry. A steady yellow light. Yellow light means the signal is about to turn red. You must stop before entering the intersection unless you can't safely stop in time. Sometimes drivers panic if they are in an intersection waiting to make a left turn and the light turns yellow. In this situation, remember that you are legally allowed to complete your turn, but please watch carefully for other vehicles, especially oncoming drivers trying to beat the red light. A lot of the time, if someone's in a hurry, they'll run a yellow or a red, and you have to be careful for yourself in that situation. A flashing green light means watch for pedestrians who may have activated the pedestrian light to change it yellow and then to red. If the pedestrian traffic is light and not activated, I'm just going to read that again. Flashing green light. Watch for pedestrians who may activate the pedestrian traffic light to change to yellow and then to red. Even if the pedestrian traffic light is not activated, traffic on the side street is facing a stop sign, and they may be waiting to move to the intersection when it's clear and safe to do so. Basically, if it's flashing green, just be aware of what's going on around it, but you are good to go. Left turn signals. Some intersections have turn signals with green arrows or designated lanes controlled by their own set of traffic lights to allow you to turn left. These are called protected turns. As long as the green light is shown, you are protected through the traffic as they are facing a red light. So this happens sometimes at high traffic intersections where there's a higher chance of accidents. They'll have their own separate protected turns. And they are nice because you don't have to worry about it too much. So the separate left signal, some intersections have designated left turn lanes controlled by their own set of traffic lights. A green arrow at the bottom of a separate traffic light will tell you when to turn left. Traffic in the straight through and right lanes will be stopped by a red light at different sets of lights. Once the green arrow has turned yellow, you must stop and wait for the next green arrow before turning. It's basically like a green light. You can only go when it's green, otherwise you have to wait for the next one. Left signal on regular traffic lights. Other intersections have left turn signals that are not controlled by a separate set of traffic lights. Here is the advanced green arrow located at the bottom of a regular traffic light. The flashing green arrow allows you to turn left. Through traffic will also be facing a red light. Once the green arrow has turned off and only the regular green traffic light is on, you still may turn left, but you must yield the right of way to pedestrians and oncoming traffic. Sometimes these advanced green arrows operate only during peak traffic hours. Flashing red lights. A flashing red light means that you must come to a complete stop. After you stop, you may move into the intersection when it is clear and safe to do so. Again, they put these lights at intersections where there's been accidents due to problems with the roads. So it is important to stop. Intersections controlled by stop signs. So a stop sign always means that you have to come to a complete stop. Once you stop, check the intersection carefully, and whether you go or wait depends on the type of intersection and the other traffic around you. So there can be two-way stops. So if two streets intersect and only one of the streets has a stop sign, then the other street is a through street. Traffic on the through street has right of way. If you are stopped at one of these types of intersections, wait until there is a safe gap before going through or turning. If two vehicles are stopped at a two-way stop and one of the drivers wants to turn left, this driver must yield the right of way to the other vehicle. The only exception is if the left turning vehicle is already in the intersection and has started to make a turn, and in this case the other vehicle must yield. So basically, if you were just going to go straight, but then this person wanted to turn left, you would have the right of way because yours is a simpler maneuver, right? You're just going straight, whereas they want to go across all the lanes of traffic. So in that situation, the person that's going straight through would have right of way and the person turning would have to wait. So for example, these drivers arrived at the two-way stop at the same time. The driver of the blue car wants to turn left and the driver of the yellow car wants to go straight. Who must yield? So the blue colored car must yield to the yellow colored car. Four-way stops. So this is where there are stop signs on all of the corners. So the first vehicle to arrive at the intersection and come to a complete stop gets to go first. However, if two vehicles arrive at the same time, the one on the right should go first. So if two vehicles are facing each other and have arrived at the same intersection at the same time, and only one is making a left turn, they must yield to the one going straight through, just like up here, the two-way stop. So The more complicated maneuver has to wait. Driving tip. If there's any doubt about who has right of way or if there's any chance of a crash, it is better to yield right of way to the other person. So if you see that the other person wants to go, or if you're not sure, then it's better just to let them go. And you'll notice this at four-way stops a lot, that sometimes there's some confusion, and it's just because people have forgotten who has right of way. And it can be aggravating for everyone, so it's good to know that the people on your right always have the right of way if they have stopped at the same time as you. Otherwise, it just goes to who stopped first, if you are aware of that. Okay, intersections controlled by a yield sign. A yield sign means that you must let the traffic on the through road have the right of way. You may enter the intersection without stopping if there are no pedestrians, cyclists, or vehicles on the road, but you must slow down and stop if necessary and wait for a safe gap if there's traffic on the through road. So usually this is like more of a merge sign, and it's coming off a side street. So if there's no one around, you can go, but usually you want to slow down pretty slow to make sure you can make sure that there's no pedestrian, cyclists, or vehicles. This next one is for traffic circles and roundabouts. These are found in some areas to help traffic get through the intersection safely and without stopping the flow of traffic. So these are becoming more popular in BC, especially in the city, in the Fraser Valley. So traffic circles are smaller roundabouts, and they're typically found in residential neighborhoods. And when you're using the traffic circle, you have to slow down as you approach the circle, obey any posted traffic signs such as yield or stop, and if there are no traffic control signs, treat it as an uncontrolled intersection. So you want to yield to any traffic that is already in the traffic circle, and if another vehicle arrives at the traffic circle at the same time as you do, it's just like a stop sign. You want to yield to the vehicle on your right. And then you want to go around the traffic circle to the right. So that's just the way you go in general, is just go around like this. And you can go all the way around. So say you meant to turn right here and you didn't, you can just go around again and then turn right. It's a little embarrassing if anyone notices, but at the same time, like, it is more convenient than going around the block just to save your pride. So just a little tip here, you must turn right to enter the traffic circle and right again to leave it. Yield to the vehicles that are already in the traffic circle, and if another vehicle comes in, you want to yield to your right. So roundabouts are typically larger than traffic circles. Some roundabouts have more than one lane. Lane use signs and markings may be displayed at the approaches to show where you can go into each lane when you are in the roundabout. And you want to make sure you know where you want to go and which lane you need before you get into the roundabout with two lanes. Just because, you can get stuck in them or like do something illegal without even realizing it. And you'll also notice that roundabouts have, it's called a truck apron around a central island, and that's for larger vehicles to get through a roundabout, or if you like curbed it by accident. So when you're using a roundabout, you want to know where you want to go before you enter it and enter the correct lane. Again, usually these are marked with signs or road markings to show you which lane you need. So if you're turning left, you need the left lane. If you want to turn right, you need the right lane. And if you want to go straight, it's usually either or. And you want to slow down before you enter the roundabout, and even approach it, and yield to pedestrians that may be crossing or about to cross. So if you see someone crossing, just stop and let them go first. Yield to any traffic already in the roundabout, and go around in a counterclockwise direction. And you cannot change lanes in a roundabout, because that's illegal because there's so many people and things going on. Don't ride alongside large vehicles such as trucks and buses in a roundabout, as they may need more than their lane to go around roundabouts. If you enter the roundabout in the left lane, stay in that lane. You can either go straight or turn left from that lane. And you also want to signal right before you exit, just so the person that is waiting there knows that you're coming out of the roundabout and that they can enter at that time. It's more of a polite thing to do so everyone knows what's happening. And then when you leave a roundabout, sometimes there's still people crossing there, and you will have to park in the roundabout while they cross in front of you, because in BC, the pedestrians always have right of way. So you can see the the crosswalks here. And so you're about to come out of the roundabout and you'd have to wait for them as well. So slow down when you're approaching a roundabout and yield to traffic already in there. Stay in the same lane when you approach the roundabout. Sorry. Okay, so I just missed this one tip here. Emergency vehicles displaying flashing lights and sirens always have right of way. If an emergency vehicle is approaching, avoid blocking the traffic circle or roundabout. Stop for the emergency vehicle before entering or exit the traffic circle or roundabout, and then stop for the emergency vehicle to pass. So in the example above, the red car has entered the roundabout from the south in the right lane after yielding to vehicles in the roundabout. The driver may turn right at the east exit or continue straight and take the north exit. So, because he entered the right lane, he can either turn right here or go straight. The blue car entered from the south into the left lane and has merged into the left lane of the roundabout. Because the blue car has entered from the left lane, the driver cannot turn right, but it can take the straight or the left exit. So yeah, basically if there's two lanes and you want to go somewhere, see the road markings here? I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. Oops. So yeah, these road markings will show you. Sorry. These road markings. I don't know why I highlighted this. Sorry guys, 1 second. I think I might just have to, I don't even know. Continuously getting darker. Okay. Don't mind me. Technical difficulties. Let's try highlighting this picture. There we go. There we are. Okay, yeah. So the red car can turn here, the red car can go straight, the blue car can go straight, or the blue car can turn here. And then see how the truck is taking out 2 lanes? So that's just because that's the way trucks are. They don't have a good turning radius and they need more space, and that's why you should never try to go around them in the roundabout. Just stay and wait for them to go through. So the tractor trailer combination entered the roundabout from the east and left lane, and the driver is going to take the south exit. Note, because of the length of the combination, the trailer is partly in the right lane and the combination will be exiting the right lane. The driver of the green car must yield to the tractor trailer that's already in there. So this person can't go until this person has exited, because he's going to be in the way and this person has right of way. So slow down when approaching a roundabout and yield to the traffic that's already there. Stay in the same lane that you approached it from. And then this sign warns to keep away from large vehicles such as trucks and buses in the roundabout, because as you can see, they may need that space. Entering a roadway. When you are pulling out of a driveway, alley, or parking lot onto the road, stop before the sidewalk or area where the pedestrians may be walking. Then pull out carefully, yielding to traffic on the road and waiting for a safe gap. So using lanes properly. In the last chapter, you learned about signs, signals, and pavement markings that identify which lanes you can drive in. This section tells you more about which lanes to use and how to use them. So which lane should you use? Choose which lane gives you the best vision and allows you to go where you want to go. On a multi-lane highway, you should travel in one of the right-hand lanes. This is especially important if you're driving more slowly than other vehicles, or if signs direct you to keep out of the left lane. Just because you are driving at the speed limit does not mean you should continually drive in the left lane. This is because other drivers may be trying to pass on the right, which is not as safe as passing on the left. So basically, if you're driving in the right lane, then you're good. But if you want to pass someone in the right lane, you go into the left lane. So it's good not to drive in the left lane unless you're passing, because there's always someone faster than you, right? Always someone more in a hurry. And if you're blocking them, that's going to cause them to pass you anyway necessary, which would mean on the right side, which is typically for slower traffic, therefore more dangerous. So always keep to the right unless you're passing is the rule in BC anyways. As you can see, slower traffic, keep right. Lane tracking. Before you make a turn, you need to get your vehicle into the correct lane. Then you need to end up in the correct lane when you are completing your turn. This is sometimes called lane tracking. So this is just going to show you a right turn. So see, this person's in the left lane, they want to go to the right lane, and then they want to make the right turn. But you can't do it too abruptly because other cars may be involved, and also just for the safety of everyone, you want to make sure that you're able to see everything before you make your turn. So as you can see, it's kind of a gradual turn. To turn right, move your car to the right lane and turn into the right lane of the cross street. In some intersections, road markings will allow you to turn from the center lane. Usually it's just you would have to turn from the right lane, but every once in a while you can follow road signs as posted. So some intersections have special yield lanes for vehicles turning right. To make a right turn, move into this lane and wait until there's a break in traffic for you to complete this turn. So this is the special lane, and that's just a lane you can wait into, and see, here's the yield sign, and then when it's safe you can merge into this lane. For left turns, it is sometimes harder to figure out which lane to turn into. These illustrations show you the correct lane tracking for different types of roads. So typically you want to turn into the lane. So if you're in this lane, you want to turn into the lane that's right here, right? Because that's just the way it goes. Like if the lane was curved, if they painted the line, it would have painted the line all the way around it. So that's another way you can imagine it, is just like the line is painted and you're just following the line. And when you're taking your end test, they will judge you on how sharp you're taking your turns. So you want to make sure that you're taking it kind of like this here. So turning left from a two-way road to a two-way road, move your vehicle into the center lane and drive in a smooth arc into the center lane of the cross street. This one is a different one. So this is a one-way street. So turning left from a one-way street into a two-lane road, turn from the left lane into the center lane. So if you were in this lane, you would have to turn into this lane. And like we've been talking about, there's always going to be road signs that tell you what you should be doing. So this one is turning left from a two-way onto a one-way. You want to turn from the center into the left lane. Again, just imagine this lane has been drawn fully. And then turning left from a one-way onto a one-way. Same idea, super easy. Turning lanes. Some roads have special lanes for turning. As you approach an intersection, always check the signs on pavement markings to make sure you are in the correct lane to turn or to go straight through. So see, for example, this is the main road, and then they have like turning sections for people that want to turn onto the side road. So turning lanes let you wait for a safe gap without holding up vehicles that are traveling straight through. Use the lane with the arrows only if you are turning left. So yeah, basically you get out of everyone's way and you have time to wait to turn. Multiple turning lanes. So this is one of the signs you'll see if there's multiple turning lanes. In large complex intersections, there may be more than one right or left turn lane. Look carefully at the pavement markings and lane use signs and signals, and they will tell you what to do. For example, the sign in the left column shows you that both the far left lane and the lane next to it are used for left turns. If you are turning from the far left lane, turn into the far left lane. If you are turning from the lane next to it, turn into the lane next to the far left lane. So yeah, you just want to follow the lines of the road. Two-way left turn lanes. So two-way left turn lanes give left-turning vehicles coming from either direction a chance to turn without holding up traffic. They can be handy for turning left in the middle of the block, such as turning into a driveway. When you see one of these lanes, remember that vehicles coming from other directions also use this lane to turn left. So this one you have to be careful with, because like many people can use this one. And if there's many different driveways, you could be dealing with multiple cars. So you want to be aware before you pull into the lane that there is no one else pulling in at the same time and that you're not going to collide. Drivers from both directions share the center lane. When they want to turn left, make sure that there is enough space before you enter this lane. Remember to watch for vehicles coming from the opposite direction. Turns in the middle of the block. Most drivers expect other vehicles to turn at an intersection. Sometimes you may want to turn left in the middle of a block, for example, into a driveway. You may turn left, including turning left over a double solid line, if you do this carefully and safely and it doesn't impede other traffic, and there are no signs prohibiting such rules. U-turns. If you find yourself going the wrong direction, you may be tempted to make a U-turn. U-turns are often risky and they are illegal because they interfere with other traffic. They're on a curve, on or near a crest of a hill where you cannot be seen by other traffic within 150 meters, where a sign prohibits U-turns, at an intersection where there is a traffic light, in a business district, except at an intersection where there is no traffic light, where municipal laws prohibit making U-turns. Basically, U-turns are illegal unless they have a sign that says you can do a U-turn. So sometimes intersections where people do U-turns will have this sign, which tells you you can absolutely not do one. So it's best not to do U-turns at all. When you are deciding to make a U-turn, think about some alternative, like driving around the block or continuing to a side road where you can turn more safely. Or you can always turn wherever you're trying to turn and then just come back out and go again, right? So there are other options other than making U-turns. Reserved lanes. In parts of BC, some traffic lanes are reserved for different types of vehicles. High occupancy vehicles, HOV lanes, and bus lanes help more people in fewer vehicles. Bike lanes are reserved for cyclists. So here's just a bit more on the HOV lane. They're reserved for buses and carpool vehicles. So if you have more than one person in the car, you can go in the HOV lane. If you do not, you cannot, because you will be fined by police officers if you are caught. Motorcycles, bicycles, and taxis may also use these lanes on some roads. So if you're in a motorcycle, it might be an option for you. It usually has a picture of a cyclist or a motorcycle or something on it. On roadways and main highways, HOV lanes are beside the median or the shoulder of the roadway. On city streets, HOVs are usually directly beside the curb. Most HOV lanes operate 24 hours a day, but some are only in operation at peak traffic times. Again, traffic signs will always tell you the information that you need to know. So if there is a time limit on it, it will say the time limit, and it will tell you where the lanes begin and end, and the minimum number of people that must be in the big vehicle. If your vehicle is carrying enough people to travel in the HOV lane, or you need to cross an HOV lane to turn, enter the lane with care. Traffic in these lanes sometimes travel faster than regular traffic. Make sure there is enough room for you to enter safely. Enter and exit where there are broken lines to indicate a crossing point. So the vehicle of the blue car has seen the warning sign that indicates that there is a reserved lane on the street and the driver wants to turn onto. The driver should turn into the next lane next to the reserved lane I'm just going to read that again. The driver of the blue car has seen the warning sign indicating that there is a reserved lane on the street that the driver wishes to turn onto. The driver should turn into the lane next to the reserved lane unless they are entitled to drive in the reserved lane and wish to drive into it. To turn right off the street with a reserved lane, change lanes into the reserved lane where permitted when safe. So basically what this is saying is that if there is an HOV lane on the street that you're going to, it will have this handy dandy sign that we talked about earlier with the HOV lane. Basically, you're gonna just avoid the HOV lane and go into the lane without the signs. But then say you were gonna turn right here, then you could enter before turning right to go. So as needed. Bus lanes. You will recognize a bus lane by a sign that has a diamond symbol and a picture of a bus. Only buses and sometimes cyclists are allowed to travel in the lanes marked with the sign. Van pools, vehicles with 6 or more occupants, may also travel in the lane if a van pool permitted tab is shown below the bus lane sign. I have never seen this van pole before, but if you saw it, then you could, and you had 6 people, you could also use that lane. Bicycle lanes are reserved for cyclists. Sometimes you will need to cross a bicycle lane to turn right or to pull to the side of the road. Take extra care when you do this. The rules for bicycle lanes are: don't drive, stop, or park in the bicycle lane, and you may only cross a bicycle lane if the white line is broken or if you're turning into or out of a driveway. Again, you have to be aware of cyclists because they're in their lane, and if you forget to check their lane before merging, it's your fault, not theirs. Driving tip: be sure to signal well ahead and yield to all cyclists whenever you must cross into a bicycle lane. Another driving tip: don't change lanes at an intersection. You could confuse other drivers and cause a crash. This is a big one that new drivers don't always know. So if you're in the intersection and you're going the wrong way, too late. You're already in the intersection. You have to change after. When I was a new driver, I still remember changing lanes just before the mall to make it into the mall parking lot and having a lady follow me into the mall parking lot honking because I changed lanes in an intersection. So you do have to be mindful because it will upset people. Pulling into a lane. Whenever you enter a lane, whether you're pulling into traffic or changing lanes, the vehicles in the lane that you are moving into have the right of way. When you pull away from the roadside into a lane of traffic, you need to make sure that you are not cutting anyone off. Watch carefully for smaller traffic. Vehicles, motorcycles may be approaching faster than you think. The same rule applies when you are planning to change lanes. Make sure there is a large enough gap so that when you pull in front of another vehicle, the driver doesn't have to slow down to avoid crashing into you. Legally, you must signal when changing lanes. So again, if you signal beforehand, the driver will know that that's where you're wanting to go, and they may leave a gap for you. Again, you don't want to cut people off because that will make people upset. So you have to make sure that there's a large enough gap for yourself. And this is also important during your driving test as well, because if you pull out in front of someone that's going faster or cut someone off, that could also affect your ability to pass the test. Passing requires moving into another lane, sometimes a lane of approaching traffic, and then back into your original lane. Remember, if you move into another vehicle's lane, that vehicle has the right of way. It doesn't matter if it's a car, a motorcycle, or a bicycle. Other traffic shouldn't have to change direction or slow down for you. If you're planning to pass, make sure you can do it safely and legally. You want to pass on the right only on a roadway. Pass on the right only on a roadway that has 2 or more lanes, or if the driver ahead is turning left. Do not use the shoulder to pass. Pass on the left only when it's safe to do so and the lane markings permit. Keep within the speed limit when passing. Make sure you know whether the pavement markings allow you to pass. So we can go back to chapter 3 and get more information on that if you need it. Basically, you can't speed up to pass someone. So if they're going under the speed limit, it makes sense why you want to pass them. So don't speed up as someone's trying to pass you. It's illegal. Help the other driver back into your lane by slowing down and making room. So if someone's trying to pass you, don't speed up, because then they have to speed up and then they will be going over the speed limit. If you were going a slower speed and that's why they wanted to pass you, then so be it. Maintain that speed that you were happy with before they passed you. Passing lanes. Some highways have special passing lanes. These lanes let slower traffic move to the right lane so that faster traffic can pass safely on the left. A sign will tell you how far it is to the next passing lane. Keep right unless you are passing. So for example, on the Sea to Sky up to Whistler, they have a lot of these pathways, and it's just to allow other cars to pass you if they feel that you're not going fast enough. A sign will tell you when the passing lane is about to end. Vehicles on the right and the passing lane must merge before the passing lane ends. And yeah, like I said, you'll see this sign a lot just because that's the lane ending sign. Merging. This sign will tell you that the right lane is about to end soon. If you're driving in that lane that ends ahead, you will need to change lanes, adjust your speed, keeping within the speed limit, and wait for a safe gap in the other lane. If you are driving next to a lane that ends ahead, keep If you are driving next to a lane that ends ahead, help the merging traffic by adjusting your speed or changing lanes. If you're on the highway and you're coming up to a highway entrance, you can always move over one lane just so that you don't have to deal with people coming in, or you just want to leave space for people so that there's not an accident when they're trying to merge in. Highway or freeway entrances and exits. These lanes are designed to help you safely enter and exit the highway. Warning, avoid stopping in the acceleration lane or the merging area because you're at risk of being rear-ended. The entrance ramp is where everyone comes up to speed with the highway. The entrance consists of an entrance ramp, an acceleration lane, and a merging area. Some freeway entrances have ramp meters, a traffic light that controls traffic entering a freeway by restricting the number of vehicles that may proceed along the entrance ramp. However, most do not. So when you're on the entrance ramp, scan the freeway traffic for a safe gap. The acceleration lane is divided from the rest of the roadway by a solid white line. Use this lane to match your speed to the speed of the traffic on the freeway. So for example, if you're going on the highway and the speed is 100, you want to get your speed up to 100 before you hit the highway. This merging area is divided from the freeway by a broken white line. Use this area to find a safe gap to merge within the freeway traffic. Be aware that cycling is permitted on some freeways, and be careful not to cut in front of cyclists. Again, in BC, I haven't really seen cyclists on highway number 1. However, sometimes there are cyclists on smaller highways. So here, for example, you can see the entrance ramp. One second. Here you can see the entrance ramp, and then this is the acceleration one. And then see, now the lines are dotted. So now you can merge. So if you were coming onto the highway, you wouldn't merge until you started to get this area, and only when you were up to speed and there's a space. So a highway entrance gives you a short distance to match your speed to the vehicles already on the highway. Observe the freeway traffic and make sure that you have space that is safe to move into. Signal and move into traffic. So again, signaling is most important. You can see he has to signal on already. And then here, it's common sense that you're going to be merging onto the highway, but it's always nice to have your signal on just so others know as well. Exit. This exit lane allows you to move off the freeway and reduce your speed. Most freeway exits are numbered. Before you start your trip, check a map to see which exit you will need. That way you can move to the right lane in plenty of time for your exit. Or if you're using a GPS, it will tell you that you're going to be taking the exit in 1,200 meters, and then you can start moving to the right as well. So you want to signal and then go into the lane, and then there's usually a posted sign that will tell you the speed, and it's usually 50 kilometers. So you want to slow down from 100 to 50 by the time you get to the end of this ramp. So signal your intention to turn off the highway, maintain your speed until you enter the exit lane, and then slow down gradually as you prepare to enter the roads with lower speed limits. So there's also strategies. Freeway courtesy. When you are driving in the right lane of the freeway, other vehicles may try to merge from the entrance lane. It's not always easy for them to find a safe gap. Use these pointers to help them merge safely. Pull over into the left lane to give them room to merge onto the highway, or adjust your speed to allow a large enough gap for them to move safely into. So you can either, if you're at the front, you can speed up so that they can go behind you, or if they are in front of you, you want to slow down so that they can come in front of you. Here are cul-de-sacs. A cul-de-sac is a street that is closed at one end. Most cul-de-sacs are designed so that you can turn your car around without needing to back up. Slow down and keep to the right. Most cul-de-sacs are in residential areas, so watch carefully for children playing, vehicles coming out of driveways, and other hazards. So cul-de-sacs are like mini traffic circles, but with no directions. Turning around. Sometimes you can turn around by doing a series of turns at intersections or by turning into a cul-de-sac. You may also be able to do a U-turn or a 2-point or 3-point turn. A 2-point turn is done by stopping near the side of the road, backing into a driveway, and then turning into the street that is to proceed in the opposite direction. You basically stop, back into someone's driveway, and then go the other way. A 3-point turn is done by making a sharp turn to the left in the middle of the block, stopping just before the curb, and then completing the 3-point turn. You want to back up to your right and then proceed to drive down the road in an opposite direction. Essentially, they are just different turns that you can do that have special names, which people would just do automatically to turn around. For both 2 and 3-point turns, you have to make sure that it's clear and safe and that there's no other traffic nearby. Parking tips and rules. So let's just quickly read the driving tip first. When parking in a stall, it is usually safest to back in so you won't have to back out. Better still, if there are 2 empty facing stalls with no barrier in between, just drive through to the next so that your vehicle is facing forward. So just like pull through, right? When uphill parking beside a rolling curb or a mountable curb, turn the wheels to the right. This type of curb is not high enough to stop the vehicle from rolling back into traffic. So we have 2 tips. So the first tip is just on parking, and the second tip is about hill parking, which is completely different. Parking tips and rules. Park where it is safe and legal. Signs, curb markings, and common sense will tell you if you're allowed to park. You should park where you're not blocking traffic and where others can clearly see you. If you park where you shouldn't, you could be a hazard to others, and you could be fined or your vehicle could be towed. It is illegal to park on a sidewalk or a boulevard, across the entrance to any driveway, even people's driveways, back lane or intersection, within 5 meters of a fire hydrant, measured from the point of the curb beside the hydrant. So this is really important. This is the main reason that people will get a ticket, is if you park by a hydrant. Within 6 meters of a crosswalk or intersection, within 6 meters of a stop sign or traffic light, within 15 meters of the nearest rail or railway crossing, in a bicycle line, on a bridge or highway tunnel, where your vehicle obstructs the visibility of a traffic sign, where a traffic sign prohibits parking, or where a curb is painted yellow or red, or even white. You'll see that sometimes the city will paint the curb where you cannot park, just to make it a little bit more visible. In a space for people with disabilities, unless you pay, in a space for people with disabilities, unless you display a disabled person parking permit in your windshield and your vehicle is carrying a person with a disability. And then for parallel parking, you want to do it within 30 centimeters or 1 foot of the curb. Usually there's like a line, and that's about 30 centimeters. So as long as you're like near the line, that's good. If you're parked on a hill, you want to turn your wheels to keep your vehicle from rolling into traffic. So depending on where on the hill, up or down, depends on how you're going to turn your wheels. So if you're uphill, you want to turn it to the right. So to the right when uphill without a curb, or downhill with or without a curb. And that's because your car, say this is the hill and you're parked there, if you don't turn your wheels a certain way, you could just roll right into traffic. Or your car could roll into traffic when you're not there, and you would never know. So the safest way to do it, I'm just going to read it one more time. To the right when uphill without a curb, or downhill with or without a curb, and then to the left when uphill with a curb. Set the parking brake and leave the vehicle in gear. An automatic car, you just want to put in park. And then with standard transition, you want to place the vehicle in reverse if facing downhill and first if facing uphill. Oh my, it's finally done. I am so sorry for all of the technical difficulties I had during this chapter, but it was just too long for me to redo. Maybe I'll redo it at a different time, but for now, we will see chapter 5 in the next video.